Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go on lesson 13, issues in implementing technology. When we plan and implement technology, we got some issues to deal with. Due to the cost and complexity of the hardware and software that we're using, districts create formal strategic technology plans. In order for us to implement this into the classroom, we've got to have a plan. Plan to purchase and secure all of that technology. And then once we've got it, do we have the infrastructure to support it? And also, do we have the teachers who can teach with it? And also, are the students ready for it? So those are kinds of questions we have to ask ourselves. And we as teachers need to be aware of the issues beyond the technical ones, like in the case of legal, social, and ethical issues of the use of technology. So let's take a look at those things. On the legal side, we have the copyright and fair use policies that the law has provided us. Privacy, acceptable use, software piracy takes place all the time, so we want to definitely be aware of that. On the social side, the digital divide between the technological haves and the technological have-nots. Then on the ethical side, freedom of speech, privacy, rights, and academic dishonesty are all issues that we have to address. So let's look at the legal issues first in copyright and fair use. Copyright exists to protect the interest of an individual or individuals who created intellectual property, and those can be things like writings, graphics, photos, music, you name it. Now, fair use guidelines determine when a teacher can legally use copyrighted material. And the general rule of thumb has been if we are using it strictly for teaching purposes, we're okay with the fair use. Now, if we go further than that, then we could have a problem. Now, the Teach Act offers some similar guidelines for distance education concerning the legal issues around copyright and fair use. But how do we determine fair use? Well, we need to be very clear about the purpose and character of the use of that intellectual property. Is it essential for our lessons? Is it something that we can use that would benefit the student? And so if it is, we can make use of it. Now, it also determines the nature of the copyrighted work. Is it a picture? Is it a book? Is it a article, video, whatever it is? Some things are much easier to copy to copy and to misuse than others. Like in the case of music. I mean, you give a song for students to listen to. Well, they can take that and then pass it on to their friends, which would be a violation of copyright. Also, we need to look at the amount of sustainability of the portion used. Will we use it again? And how much of it do we use? I know, like in the case of this class there, I have all of these copyrighted PowerPoints that somebody took the time to create. Well, after I'm done with them, I'll just be filing them away and probably won't use them again. if we or use them again if I ever teach this course again. And so I'm using all of them. I haven't created any of these PowerPoints myself, since they were all pre-made and also pretty solid teaching tools. Also, it looks at the effect of the use on the work's marketability. Things like this. The marketability deals with students, you all buying the book, and that publisher and that author making some money off of that purchase. Obviously, textbooks are marketable, but they come nowhere close to things like videos and also music, sound recordings, and things like that, which people may pay to get. What about using copyrighted materials? We want to use them only in face-to-face teaching. Now, I don't know about that one right there, because obviously what I'm not doing is face-to-face synchronous kind of teaching, but yet I'm using them. I think we can kind of maybe broaden the scope of this to include online learning. But in a typical classroom situation, we would be using that copyright material to teach our classes, teach our students face to face. If we're dealing with distance education, then we want to follow the TEACH guidelines. And limit copying to small portions of copyrighted work. You and I may have handouts to give the students. And certainly in this digital age, a copy of something from a Xerox machine still gets it done. So let's not discount that. So we would only want to copy what we need. If we have some work at the end of the chapter that students could benefit from, make a couple of copies of a couple of pages and then pass them out. But we wouldn't want to go copy the whole chapter of a book and give that to them. And that kind of leads into this next thing, not making any unnecessary copies. And then what we should do is to somewhere on the copy include a copyright notice and attribute the work to wherever we got it from. And we ought to limit it to a single class, a single year. Now, obviously, if we teach more than one section of a class, then obviously we can use that. And maybe we have to make more copies, but yet we would use it for a single semester or an academic year. Moving on with legal issues, what about privacy? Every child or every citizen of this United States has a right to privacy. Now, since these children are not of age, parents must give permission for student information to be shared. And so they will have to give that written permission to us to share information about them. Now, the ease of sharing information with technology can lead to abuse, and certainly there's all kind of unscrupulous people out there that could take advantage of this. And so we got to be careful. And you and I need to be front and center protecting the rights of the privacy of our students. And so you and I are at the front lines, and we got to do everything we can to protect them. Now, what are some things we can do to ensure privacy? Obviously, every school or district or uh, institution has or should have some policies and procedures dealing with student privacy. And then we ought to get parental permission before putting student work or pictures on a website. Because let's face it, who knows what kind of child predators are out there lurking around. And so we need their permission. And look, it's a great thing to be able to show off student work. And in a perfect world, that'd be a great thing to do. But we've got to be careful and know that there are some dangers out there in doing that. You want to protect children's information like their name, age, location, etc. We don't want to do anything that would put them at risk. Some more steps to ensure privacy. Avoid storing students' personal information on files on unprotected computers, and so we need to have our computers, passworded, encrypted, secure, and certainly have all kinds of virus and blocking programs out there to be able to protect that data for somebody coming in and trying to steal it. We need to encourage every child to store his or her work on a removable storage device rather than easily accessible hard drives. So standard equipment for every student ought to be a jump drive. They could a 32 gig or 50 gig or even an 8 or 10 gig flash drive would probably do for most of their educational career, so they can save their work to it and not to the network or to the school hard drives where somebody may come over it at night or over a weekend and steal the computers. That's been known to happen. What's some legislation out there that protects children? The COPPA, or Children and Online Privacy Protection Act, that addresses some privacy issues. The CIPA, or CIPM, Children's Internet Protection Act, went even further and established internet policies to protect children in libraries and other public institutions. The ADA, or American with Disabilities Act, deals with equal access and guidelines to help technology meet all the students' needs. For those students that have some special needs, and we'll talk about special needs if you take the course, there's a whole section in there dealing with the accommodations that we need to make by law to help or give equal opportunity to students. And technology is just one of those areas. Keeping on with legal issues, there's an acceptable use policy, or AUP, and districts' accessible use policies define appropriate uses of school computers. Whenever I teach the orientation class here at Acadian for new students, we go over the SLCC policies for computer use. Our IT department created a set of guidelines, and it has been approved by our institution, and so every student, before they use computers, will go over this policy, then sign off in Moodle that they have read and understand those things, and then we hold them to those guidelines. And when it's all said and done, you and I must ensure appropriate use of technology in our classrooms. When it's all said and done, it boils down to us. uh, kind of setting the extent to which technology is going to be used, the protections that need to be there. You and I are going to be the first ones to police those kinds of things. And you and I have got to know those acceptable use policy guidelines and enforce them every day in class. Now, you and I can ensure acceptable use by reviewing those AUPs periodically with our students, because sometimes they'll forget. And then we ask them to sign it. So we've got their signature for documentation purposes that they have read and understand and will abide by those acceptable use policies, so that if they do not, then we've got some recourse for some discipline. And you and I just need to kind of walk around the classroom, or just kind of be aware of what's going on when students use the internet, and also use filtering software. Your school, your institution may have invested in a software package that will do that kind of thing. Let's look at software piracy. Copying or installing software on more than one computer is normally copyright violation and is illegal. It's the same with CDs or DVDs. Whenever you and I buy a computer, usually it has one license for the software that's installed on it, and it's for that computer and that computer only. Now, if our institution or school system buys a site license, then that's a different story. We will buy that license, and it'll be good for however many computers is stated in the contract. For us at SLCC, it's pretty much a blanket site license that has unlimited computers. Anytime we buy a new one or scrap an old one, we just load the new software up on the new computer, and we're good to go. Now, of course, we have to go back and periodically renegotiate our site licenses, but our IT department and financial department are always on top of that kind of thing. But yet, we don't need to take one bit of software that's good for only, and it's usually written up in the terms of use whenever you go to install that software, the terms of use that you accept. If you just go ahead and read that stuff, and let's face it, most people don't, will tell you that software is good for that machine and that machine only. Or, like in the case of some virus scan programs, they will give you 3, maybe 4 computers that you can put it on. But that's it. Your site license allows installation on multiple computers subject to the license, like we've just mentioned. And then we have our IT departments, and our network administrations will often monitor licensing on network and attach individual computers to that network, so they can kind of keep track of the licensing. The server software will allow them to be able to identify those computers that have bootlegged versions of software on them, because of the code that's in that software that your server software can pick up. So let's look at some social issues and the digital divide. Inequities of access have created technological haves and have-nots. There are still people around here in Southwest Louisiana, where I'm from, that still have very limited internet capabilities, and some that have even none. And so we have, like in Lafayette, a state-of-the-art system. Uh, the LUS fiber system, created by the Lafayette utility system, is one of the best in the nation when it comes to bandwidth and reliability. And so we have both sides of the spectrum here. The gap is also related to socioeconomic status, ethnic groups, gender, and educational levels. And so those people who are poor can't afford the internet access, and so probably won't have it, or at least if they do, it's very limited amount. And so these are just a few of a number of gaps that can extend out there. And let's face it, it all boils down to the investment that an internet service provider is going to want to take in order to provide that kind of service, and how much that company can expect to charge to be able to make a profit, and also expand their services. And so it just depends on what's out there, and there's just a wide variety of areas here that have internet access, and those that don't have it, and no telling when they're going to get it. Now, you and I can design activities that will help bridge that gap to reduce technological inequities. Maybe we may need to copy handouts and things like that. If we do like that, we can lessen that gap. About probably 10 years ago, this word didn't exist. But today, it's a major issue, and that is cyberbullying. It's defined or looked at as the old playground bullies have just moved into a whole different environment. They've entered cyberspace. And it's really defined as an incident where the internet, cell phones, or other devices are used to send or post text or images to hurt or embarrass another person. And so there are all kinds of stories that you will read and hear about where students are cyberbullied, and many of them have gotten to the point where they've taken their own lives because of that. It's a widespread problem, and it's estimated about 43% of students have been victims. That's almost half the students that are out there have been victims of cyberbullying in some shape, form, or fashion. Now, when it comes to online social interaction, the web provides us with all kinds of opportunities for legitimate and positive social interaction. It's connected people in a way that's never been done in history. But with that, there's always a danger. Immature children and teens may be at risk to those predators, those bullies that are out there that want to hurt them. Information, words, and images like sexting do not go away and may be seen by unintended viewers. Once you put something on the web, it's out there. And it's like the proverbial genie that comes out the bottle. You're not going to put him back in. And so students need to be aware that what they put out there is there, and all kinds of people can see it. One thing I I have learned as I've taught the job seeking skills class is that many employers today, when they interview a candidate, they'll have somebody out there checking out their web presence to see what they've posted on the web, Facebook, any tweets or blogs or things like that. Or, you want to get scared. I guess my assignment for you would be to Google your name and see what kind of web presence you've got. You and I need to teach and encourage appropriate, positive online social interaction. We need to be able to uh, allow our students to interact in a virtual environment where they're built up, where they can gain some positive self-esteem and make new friends, learn about new things. Let's face it, they can have friends in other parts of the world and stay connected to those people. It's a wonderful thing, but yet, unfortunately, there are those that want to turn that around and make it very, very bad for them. Now, what about our First Amendment rights of freedom of speech? Now, there is no law out there that's going to regulate internet content. It's got some good stuff and it's got some lousy stuff out there, and everything in between. And some of the stuff that's posted out there may be objectionable or definitely inappropriate. Now, the net is seen as an open forum for free speech, and there's some questions that people have been asking. Should expression be regulated? Should all of these hate sites be removed? Well, some would argue yes, in the interest of common decency. Others would say, well, no, that is a definite First Amendment issue, that they have every right to put that information out there and express themselves like that. And does the government have the right to do so? Does the government have the right to play big brother to us and kind of monitor things? Well, if you listen to the news lately, the government does that. It listens in and has access to all kinds of electronic communication. Now, whether they'll take it to the next level to kind of police that or ban some things, well, I can guarantee you there'll be some major court fights for that. So, stay tuned to court TV or to reading about legislation and certainly court cases that are going to be dealing with First Amendment rights and the internet. There'll always be something out there about it. And although the controversy continues, schools must control access to appropriate areas. You and I and our school systems have every right to limit students to what they can see and where they can go. Because let's face it, we are treating them as minors, and certainly it's our job to protect them. Now, of course, if they're 18 years or older, if they're in college, well, that's a whole different story. They're looked at as adults, and they can make their own decisions. And I think all you need to do is go to the Chronicle of Higher Education, and usually it's published every week, and usually every week there's something about free speech, First Amendment rights dealing with the internet. So it's a topic that's going to always be looked at, and the courts, one way or the other, are going to shape the final outcome. What about privacy? What's the appropriate balance between privacy and monitoring of activities? Well, if we're watching over our student's shoulder, are we violating their right to privacy? When is it okay to monitor where people go and what they do on the internet? Well, like I tell my students, when you're here at Acadian campus and you're using our facilities, we can tell you what is appropriate and what's not appropriate. Now, when you go home and you search the internet at home, that's your business, where you go and what you do. But yet, because of our fair use policies, we can limit that access that they have. When it's all said and done, we're getting back to ensuring student safety, and we publish and enforce the AUPs that we have. Now, academic dishonesty. I guess as long as there's been schools, students have been cheating. Well, now they can do it in a whole different way. Our technology has provided an easy way to manipulate and share information, has increased the dishonest use of work that's out there. In fact, there's even websites that for whatever you're willing to pay, they'll write a paper for you. Or at the least, going out there to internet sites and just basically copying and pasting information in a report. And so it makes it real easy to do. Cheating and plagiarizing further facilitated by websites that post and share work. Teachers in schools need clear policies dealing with digital dishonesty. Well, we have a plagiarism policy. We go over that with the students, especially those that are taking English composition classes and those particular classes where they'll be doing some writing. They're well aware of the plagiarism policy, and certainly they sign off on that. Now, what's our role? Well, we are certainly the key stakeholders, because it's our classes that they're cheating in. Now, we can implement the best technology for students and ourselves. You know, when it comes to hardware, software, we want to provide them the best. But yet we also have a critical role in dealing with the legal, ethical, and social issues of implementing technology. And it's not going to get any easier. It's not going to get any less in its complexity. In fact, if anything, it's going to get more complex as more and more of these smaller devices and more powerful devices come available. It's going to be that much harder to really keep a handle on it. I live not far from the small town of Iota. I graduated from Iota High School, and Iota this academic year is one of the few schools in this state right now, or it may be the only one, right now that's doing a pilot study on implementing handheld devices in the classroom. Obviously, at many high schools and elementary schools throughout the state, they've banned cell phone usage and other electronic devices. And certainly, when students are found with those things, they usually take them away. Well, IOTA is going to do something different. They're not taking any of that away, and in fact, they're encouraging students to use them. And I'm going to be very interested in what the outcome of this academic year is going to be like. I know some students that are in high school, and I've been asking them to kind of get a feeling of what's going to be happening. But they make calls there on campus. They get calls, they text, and so I really wouldn't know how those instructors there at school would deal with some of those distractions. And we must keep up to date as technology evolves to utilize it to address the issues it creates. And let's face it, there's probably some issues we haven't even touched yet or even dreamed up yet that 5 years, 10 years down the line are going to be critical for us. And when it comes to keeping up-to-date technology, the shelf life, or what they call the half-life of all of this technology, is just, in some cases, matter of months before something new or something better comes along. And so change is constant in this area. What are some resources for us? Well, the school's media and technology specialists can help address digital issues. The school librarians, there may be the IT department, or whatever your school or educational institution calls them, are excellent resources for that kind of information. They always usually have a wealth of knowledge and skills, and are usually enthusiastic to support and provide that to teachers. And so, if we got questions, there are people out there ready to help us get some answers to our questions. So now let's take a look at some emerging technology. Well, wireless has certainly been a game changer for us. The rapid improvement is making wireless availability pretty much commonplace. At one time, it was very rare and expensive. Now, it's almost the networking solution of choice now. Wi-Fi, or wireless fidelity technology, provides networking for campus and public wireless networks, and so we can utilize Wi-Fi for our intranets for our institutions, and then also provide public wireless out there for the public at large. Case in point, I had a trip to Baton Rouge, and noticed that Baton Rouge has its own public Wi-Fi capability, and so I was able to log into their system, and it was fast and very reliable. Retrofitting schools with cables will cease to be necessary, and so because of the architecture and the major cost and labor to run cable and to provide wired access, it's much easier just to use wireless. And like that, your cabling is just very minimal, and your accessibility is just as good as wired, maybe even better. When it comes to wireless connectivity, we got Bluetooth, where personal area networks or PANs are created automatically, and so others can hook up to your little personal network. And Bluetooth will allow various types of devices to be connected together wirelessly. And there's no more limitations by the length of your cables. I think it was like 100 feet whenever we were doing wiring a Acadian. Well, now that's not an issue. We also have what are called virtual environments. They're fully rendered 3D environments in which the user is immersed. As the technology progresses, development of full sensory environments will address all learning preferences. Students will be able to take virtual field trips. If you ever go to Lafayette and go to the headquarters of our institution at the Devalcourt building or in the Ardoin building of South Louisiana Community College, we are on a street called Devalcourt Street on one side of the highway. If you go to the other side, down this boulevard, you will come to a facility called the Light Center, which stands for Louisiana Immersive Technologies. If you have a chance to take a class on a field trip, the Light Center would be a awesome field trip where you can go into a cube that is fully 3D immersed. One of our meetings was there, and we were able to take a tour and saw this guy in this box. It looked like a box, and he had some big slippers on and these gloves and this headset on, and we were watching him take a stroll through an offshore drilling rig. And it was explained to us that the guy that was there was a chief engineer, and what he was doing was taking a virtual tour of the plan of that rig to give his final approval for them to send it to the shipyard or the facility to build the thing. And we could watch him on a monitor as he would walk down some areas, climb stairs, navigate through pipe and things like that. You could see him bend down to go underneath piping and all of that. And he was talking as he was going through there. I'm sure there was somebody there recording his responses to that final design. And so won't be long before that may be available to us in a classroom setting. Now we come to my favorite, one of my favorite things, artificial intelligence. When I did my doctoral work, that was my area of study. Fascinating area and technology. Will we ever have robots that are going to talk? Well, we've got them now. Are they going to be like the ones we see in the movies? Probably not, for a long time. But from the research that I've read and tried to stay in touch with since I graduated about 20 years ago, we are to the point right now on the hardware side, we're ready to build a thinking machine. We've got the technology on the hardware end of it. The big issue right now is the software side. Nobody has a computer language or the programming capability to be able to allow machines to think. But yet, there are institutions, both public and private, all over the world right now that are doing that right now as we speak. Artificial intelligence are programs that work like the human brain, being able to think and come up with answers independently. Neural networks, fuzzy logics, and expert systems are examples of AI. I built an expert system for my research, and they are very powerful tools that help you make decisions based on the information that you've got available to you. Now you might say, well, where in the world do we find that? Well, if you made some coffee this morning with your Mr. Coffee, there is an artificial intelligence capability there in that Mr. Coffee to monitor the temperature, time to brew that coffee. There are all kinds of sensors out there and things that have to happen before that cup of coffee can be drunk. And so that AI that's in that coffee maker is going to make sure everything happens when it's supposed to. These tools exist, and when evolved will be significant, and that is going to be a major accomplishment in history. And like I said, we're there on the hardware side. We're maybe a generation or two away on the software side. But chances are your great grandchildren may be the first generation to deal with AI. Wikis. These refer to a website written collaboratively, like anybody who wants to join it. Vandalism may occur, but the community corrects the problems quickly. And so the vandalism where they'll put in wrong information, those things need to get cleared up real quick. And usually the community who's involved in that wiki constantly monitors that stuff and always is on guard. Schools can create wiki sites for brainstorming, collaboration, debate, projects, and are sharing resources. Again, it's a great way to connect students and let them collaborate. Grid computing. This is a networking kind of thing where multiple computers will join together to share resources and computing power. If you want to be a part of one of the coolest grid computers on this planet, all you need to do is to Google SETI at home, SETI at home. This was a project begun in Berkeley, California, where a group of people decided to create a software program that would search through radio signals by this radio telescope and search for intelligent life or intelligent signals. Kind of like if you ever watched the movie Contact, that is kind of what they're looking for. All right. Well, you download the software, and what it does is it basically becomes your screensaver. And when your computer is not working, you're not doing things on it, and your screensaver is on, this program will actually compute and analyze these signals. You're given a little packet of information, and it analyzes it. Whenever it's done, it ships that back to Berkeley and downloads another one. And right now, there are almost 2 million people worldwide that are doing this. And what's neat is that they say that this is the computing power in all of these personal computers far exceeds all the mainframe computing power in the world. And so we're starting to see more and more of these kinds of grid uh, things coming up on the web. And so I've got SETI at home set on my home computer, and I don't think I'll be analyzing any ET signals, and maybe getting ET to talk to me. But let's face it, it's a really, really cool screensaver. Just to watch it, it's just fascinating how it computes all this stuff, and so it's free. So that's pretty good too. The fastest dedicated computer in the world is a 900,000 computer grid. And peer-to-peer networking is another example of grid computing. So whenever we're hooked up to a network and we're in a peer-to-peer mode, we are actually, by definition, a grid system. Our displays are starting to see some changes. These are flexible organic light emitting devices. They can be any size and even rolled. You look at the display that's on your cell phone or smartphone, it's just micrometers thick, but yet the image is quite clear. Electronic paper is filmed with beads of ink that electrical currents make to turn over to form letters, graphics, and pictures. It's erasable and rewritable. And it's about the size and weight of a sheet of transparency paper or a film. Then in Japan, somebody came up with the bright idea to be able to wear a computer. They're built into clothing or worn like a pin around your neck. They could offer information about the environment, reminders, or data on demand, or even do advertising as they're doing it in Japan. You can walk down the street and advertise on your back, or else change the color and color scheme and pattern of your clothes. So one day your shirt's blue, the next day your shirt's green. Whatever you want, color you want it to be, or pattern. Current examples are heads-up displays and small computers for special needs students. Out in the military and in some automobiles today that you and I can buy, we have heads-up displays that'll tell us all the speed and all the other information we need to know about our car, so that we don't have to look down. We can just look straight ahead and see it. And these smaller computers that special needs students can wear on them and then move around with them certainly help to help them take advantage of computing. They're not stuck to a table or one spot. They can move and go anywhere they want and still have access to information. Convergence is the blending of technologies into a single multi-purpose technology. In the school setting, convergence will mean better use of limited resources, since less equipment will need to be acquired, less time and resources spent in training on diverse equipment, an easier integration of equipment into the classroom. We at SLCC are deeply involved in that. We don't have unlimited resources. We're trying to standardize the type of computers that we buy for our labs, so we can get better deals buying in quantity. We're trying to standardize our printers, so we can have the same cost benefits there, as well as whenever we buy toner, we can buy them in bulk for both color and black and white laser jets. And like that, if I'm in my lab there in Crowley, I've got the same kind of computer and setup there in my lab as I would have in a lab that would be in New Iberia if I'm teaching there, or if I'm in T.H. Harris in Opelousas. The technology would be the same or very, very similar. And like that, I could make more use of the technology and feel a whole lot more comfortable with it. Then we've got computers as appliances. Digital technology is becoming common as household appliances, and schools have got to keep up with societal change, and that's not an easy thing to do. Pocket or tablet PCs will allow instant access from anywhere. And let's face it, children of all ages are using that technology. Instruction will need to accommodate more opportunities and greater access. You know, the days of using a blackboard to pass on information to students is rapidly drawing to a close. We are seeing instant access and students expecting that because that's what they're used to. And certainly computer literacy, just as reading, writing, and mathematics were the basics that we learned in order to be literate. Well, we can add computers. Effectively using computers will become as essential as a skill like reading or math or English, because computer literacy will be an entry-level skill and will not have to be taught. More and more of our high schools, junior high schools, even elementary schools are teaching basic computer concepts. And so when my students take a computer literacy course with me, I can see their time coming that I won't need to teach a course anymore. Hopefully that's after I retire, but let's face it, more and more students come to us with those skills, and once they prove to us that they've passed their courses with a B or better, we give them credit and let them move on. And so they have got the skills when they come to us. Well, does it mean that there wouldn't be a need for us on our side to be able to teach more advanced skills? I'm to the point right now that I'd love to see a course in HTML programming be also a requirement for some programs, because I could see where web design, web modification would be a skill that would work real well in business or in something else like drafting. And certainly, as we move on, computer enhanced instruction will be easier to integrate into lessons because it'll integrate seamlessly into the technology that we've got. And that's going to be leading us to decentralized instruction. This spring, I'm going to be teaching my first course in using video. And so I'm going to be teaching from Crowley to a class of about maybe 30 students in Lafayette. And so I don't have to be there physically in Lafayette. And so that's going to obviously provide some challenges for me and for my students. But nevertheless, it's something that I'm looking forward to, and hopefully they are too. Instruction may change as technology broadens the way it can be delivered. I'm going to have to change the way that I do things to teach that course. And I'm already starting to think about it. And certainly classroom walls will give way to virtual communities of learners. The four walls of our classroom are going to pretty much tumble down. Master teachers from around the world may come together to team teach. You know, if I ever would be fortunate enough to be able to maybe teach a AI course, I might be able to get a couple of people from MIT, maybe to teach some of my units, and maybe I can do something for them. I doubt it, but wouldn't that be cool? And schools will no longer be isolated. They won't be little islands in and of themselves. We'll all be connected. And of course, that's going to change our roles. One thing we'll never have to worry about is that technology will never replace teachers. But yet, we're going to have to design instruction using technology. We're just going to have to learn to adapt. But a digital age curriculum may look very different from what we're doing right now. And let's face it, we just as soon embrace the change because it's happening. Global collaboration and ever-expanding resources will benefit students. We give them access to information that they would have never had before. And let's face it, the possibilities are just endless when it comes to the digital technology in the classroom. And so I encourage each and every one of you to look at ways that you can adapt, because the way you and I teach now probably won't be the way we're going to be teaching 5 years from now. So with that, I'll go ahead and shut this one down, and we'll have one more lecture before we wrap things up.